I'll continue reading. It's kind of a challenge making two of these recording the sound and tape at the same time. But here goes. Continuing on with the dance of life. In this conscious world, reality is multidimensional. Problems in one dimension are only solutions waiting to unfold from another dimension. To understand the multidimensional nature of consciousness, we need to understand some of the new sciences such as quantum physics, information theory, holographics, to mention a few. The quantum physics is the most accurate and comprehensive approach ever devised for understanding the laws of nature. It is responsible for more than 40% of all new inventions. It helped harness the power of the atom and helped get us to the moon. It can also help us understand the hidden dimensions of consciousness and the mechanisms of human behavior. It is time we begin to explore reality from the quantum perspective, where every set of circumstances driven by potential and problems are challenges created by their solutions. From this view, there are solutions to every problem. We've never opened up our minds to that. But anyway, we can look into hyperspace, that reality beyond the speed of light, where we find our counterparts in reality. In my life, this is discovery eclipsed all others. The hyperspace, we find the dimensional information sources that hold our reality in place. Whether we acknowledge it or not, we are inseparably connected to hyperspace. We now know how the connections take place through the microtubes of the body. We are quantum in nature and connected to everything. From information theory, the vortex sciences, we learn how everything is dynamic, filled with constant change. From holographics, we eclipse into the projective nature of everything, from black holes to negative thinking. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I realize some of you may want to know what I could possibly have been doing in the former Soviet Union and what I could have been teaching that would make any difference at all. If you don't know much about science, psychology, or reality, be assured that life is not that complicated. This fascinating dance of life has a scientific explanation for everything, from the mountain meadow to consciousness itself. Anyone can experience the whole dynamic. It's a matter of choice and focus. Once I choose to focus, I awaken to the hidden depths of the consciousness. Since that time, I have never been the same. And once you know this information, trust me, ignorance is bliss. You'll fit in with society if you're ignorant as shit. But once you get to know a little bit of more information, it's like you'll find it really, really hard to communicate with other people, like I have. But if we all kind of understand this, then we all raise our awareness, and then it won't be so complicated, which is why I read the freaking book. Everything I do has taken on meaning, profound meaning. Every person I meet makes a difference. Nature responds to my presence. The mountain meadow exists in a state of presence, and I allow myself to share that presence. I become more alive, aware, connected to life. I discover life everywhere has this sense of presence. This is not euphoria or some artificial high. It does not require drugs or outside influence. This is our natural state of being. It is presence. Presence is a state of being wherein one is aligned with one's full potential self. Presence is the essence of consciousness. It is so vital. I want to give you another example of the power of presence, so I will tell you about my experience with Amanta. This experience demonstrates the profound presence within nature. I share this experience because it took place underwater in the ocean. It shows universal consciousness everywhere. It tops the mountain meadow and even underwater. This story is going to kind of blow you away. It's kind of really, really wild, but I truthfully believe this is true. This is more when you can develop empathy, then you can experience this experience. I have personally never done this, but I have related to this with a lot of other animals. When you see a horse whisperer like my daughter, you can really see how this is possible. So it's wild, but it's worth hearing. This is like, well, you'll hear it. The manta. I love to scuba dive, and one of the great learning moments of my life took place in Hawaii, deep underwater. It was one of those perfect days when the sky and the water met in mixtures of blue and white, and everything danced with life. My 3 companions and I anchored our boat on the Maui side of the Molukini, a small horseshoe island that tops over underwater crater in the Hawaiian chain off the coast of Maui. I was the first diver ready, and I plunged along over the side into a crystal clear, wonderful world of tropical waters. As the bubbles cleared, I saw 3 sharks ranging from 4 to 6 feet in length, swimming about a dozen feet away. This is the rare sight in these peaceful waters, so I immediately swam towards them. My fearless approach and my companions' flashy entrance behind me sent the sharks quickly on their way. Undaunted, we began to swim leisurely across the bay. Molokini, because of its natural beauty, has been set aside as a natural park, and the fish there are protected. They display every imaginable color and sport every imaginable shape. Needlefish shaped like long silver tubules floating by me, almost invisible against the white sand and the bright coral sun. Red snappers and yellow snappers abundant in little schools, flitting in and out of hidden caves nestled in the coral. We glided through schools of neon tetras and angelfish and puffers that greeted us much like little curious children. The underwater world seemed a completely different world from the bustling human hordes in the city and on some of the beaches. Here, with the sunlight rays dazzling us in ripples of color, I was wrapped in nature's womb self and filled with awe of the boundless beauty that surrounded me. Beautiful and tranquil prevailed. On the outer edges of the crater, the bottom dropped suddenly away. Peering down through the clear water, I could see into the deep, dark blue of the ocean abyss below. I raised my caution flags. After just experiencing 3 sharks, I wondered what other creatures might be lurking in the darkness below. Suddenly, Gary, one of my underwater companions, pointed both hands towards the deepest part of the bottomless blackness. As I peered into the abyss, it took a few moments before I recognized an immersed, dark shape moving towards us out of the depths. Quickly calculating how long it would take us to swim to land or to boat, I realized there was no escape. This creature of the wild was big, very big, and we were way too far from any safe retreat. I could see the creature was black as it rose from the depths. Then the emerging shape showed a white underbelly, and my fears soon dissolved as I recognized the form of a large manta. The manta glided gracefully through the water, up towards us and onto the ridge. As it began to circle the crater, my 3 companions swam after it, trying to get close enough to hitch a ride on its large wing-like fins. Realizing the manta was swimming too fast for us to catch, I chose a different approach. I decided to become the manta. This is really, really wild. This is empathy. Closing my eyes and centering myself in a state of being one with nature, I relaxed, imagined myself as a manta. A thought flashed through my mind that in some other parallel world, perhaps I was a manta, just for the fun of it. And trust me, try things for the fun of it, because that'll take you in wild places. I took on that manta state of being. In order to do this, I have learned to first tune in to my own full potential self, the I, that is my counterpart in hyperspatial reality. I aligned myself with my full potential and became present within that information field. Like the blink of an eye, I sensed all was well. An inner coherence seemed to take place, much like tuning into a musical number and singing along. I relaxed and slipped into the state of being a manta. I began to move my arms, imagining I was gliding through the water. I had only moved my arms up and down 2 or 3 times when a wave of water washed over me. I opened my eyes to see what could be causing such a wave at a depth of more than 300 feet. Right there in front of me, not 2 feet away, was a mouth more than 3 feet wide. I had to slow down. It was a manta. It startled me. My first thought was, what does a manta eat? Its mouth was large enough to swallow me whole. Then a voice somewhere inside me said, "Are you all right?" It was clear as a bell. There was a pause, and then the voice said, "Are you a manta?" Still a little startled, I suddenly realized the manta was communicating with me. "I am all right," I said. I gathered my thoughts. The scientist in me was amazed I could speak in what seemed to be clear English to a manta, which hung suspended in the water right in front of me, and it clearly could understand me just as well. "I'm not a manta," I continued, "but I wanted to experience your world." It giggled. I was amazed. It seemed genuinely pleased. Without any further communication, we suddenly flying through the water, down and over the ridge right into the deepest, darkest part of the ocean. As quickly as thought, we flew right into the heart of the thing I had feared the most only a few moments before, the unknown darkness of the abyss. As we descended deeper and deeper into the darkness, an all-consuming peace prevailed my body. It flooded my entire being. I was so immersed in the experience, it was as though I had become embedded in oneness with the manta. I was sharing the manta's bond with life itself. I never knew such peace could exist. It was greater by far than my own realization about nature. There was no fear, even in the darkest corners or depths of the ocean. I experienced a feeling of total harmony, one I never knew was possible. The manta was sharing with me more than just its physical world. It was sharing its conscious state of well-being. Understanding the enveloped everything, it was as though I had become everything at once within my own being, or everything within my being had become one with my surroundings. I swam not only in the depths of the ocean, but in the depths of all-knowing, seeing through the eyes of a manta and understanding all that it saw. I was linked to its mind, immersed with it in its universal field of information. I revealed in awareness being beyond the limits of time without losing my sense of time. To travel was effortless, for there was no confines of distance or physical shape. I was present everywhere without losing my presence in the now. We traveled as if on waves of thought. I was totally alert to everything, yet confined by nothing. After a while, I became a little monotonous, just swimming in the bleak darkness of the abyss, and although I could clearly see little sea creatures in the water, I asked, "Can we get little color into this?" The next thing I knew, we were virtually flying over coral reefs as beautiful as anything I had ever seen. Vivid colors, swarming fish of every imaginable shape and form, with bright sunlight streaming over everything. There was a sound that was more than sound. It seemed to emanate as if from everything, like the quiet combination of 1,000 orchestras playing in harmony. A million fish and countless other life forms immersed me in the sound of a profound, engulfing beauty. The water, the fish, the coral, the sand, everything was in harmonic motion, deeper than just swimming along through the water or listening to sound. The manta heard with such distinction that it was as though The very molecules of dancing together. No matter where I focused, the picture became clearer. My realizations deeper and music were more ecstatic. Everything was responding to me. I was so overcome with the ecstasy of this dance and its music. I reveled in it, savored in it, and was smitten by my love of life. Running out of time. I'll continue on another tape.